Welcome to Unlock Potential. And today I have a special treat. Look at the ocean. I mean, how awesome is this? I'm with Mario Mentis, and we are at the Danang Fusion Resorts and Villas in Vietnam. And I am so excited to have Mario here to chat with. And we are going to dive into how we can unlock some potential. So Mario, why don't you give us a little background on yourself and get us to how you're here today?
Yeah, thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Great to see you all again, especially with this beautiful background, as you can see. So look, I'm a second-generation hotelier. Over 26 years now, actually. Started quite young when I was around 17 back in Australia. But yeah, it's been in my blood. It's like my dad was a hotelier, right, through Europe, Middle East, and Sri Lanka, actually. So when I was on holidays, I'd always go visit him. And I used to love running around the hotels, seeing the buzz, the life, the soul, even in the back of house, seeing how every little department came together. And I guess that's where this passion and love for this industry was born. My dad always said, look, if you're going to get into it, start right at the bottom. And that's what I did. Started as a dishwasher when I was 17, back in Australia, and grinded my way up through every level. Came up through food and beverage side. So from dishwasher into front of house, serving food, looking after stations, becoming in charge of restaurants, slowly then looking after teams as I grew up in food and beverage outlets. And then, of course, he even told me, look, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And that's when I took the leap and left. My first foray was actually going to Sri Lanka and starting at the old famous Langkar Brewery, which is the Cinnamon Grand now. I started there as my first kind of like international expat gig, I would say. That was amazing. The insight of opening new F&B outlets in a heritage hotel, working with a whole new culture aspect, different from Australia. It was a real eye-opener. And that's where I guess I got the taste for exploring more. From there on, I moved into Dubai. At that time, Dubai was exploding. This is around 2005, 2004, when things were starting to just boom there. Everything was growing in terms of hospitality, investment, sport developments, you name it. It's what was like, you dreamt of it, it came to life. That was the era that we were living in Dubai. So in F&B, I was at a Le Meridian Hotel, with just over 18 food and beverage outlets, you name it, from Chinese to Japanese to Italian to Thai. Everything was authenticated. And I guess it was the blessed place to learn about food and beverage for me, because every outlet was a respective nationality. Like, so let's say the Italian restaurant was the Italian chefs and the Italian sommeliers. You go to the French restaurant, you had the French chefs and the French maitre d's. So every aspect, and then you had this global influx of expats from all around the world working there as waiters, restaurant managers, directors. So we were a melting pot of nationalities. And it was exciting times because the world's eyes were on Dubai at that time. So I spent about a good 5 years there, growing up in there through my career steps. Then I took my foray first step into Southeast Asia, coming into Bangkok, actually, at the old classic Naila Park Hotel. Amazing hotel. And again, another heritage hotel that I worked in. Again, that's where I started my whole Southeast journey. Working in from Bangkok, going into Hua Hin, and then to Nuklua. Then making a swap over just across the neighborhood, came into Vietnam, where I've enjoyed now the past 8 years of my life here in Vietnam, actually. Especially being at the iconic Sofitel Saigon Plaza. So Sofitel Saigon was definitely a pivotal point in my career. 6 years there, growing from the number 2 to the number 1, as we say, so EAM to general manager. And also during the hardest time. I mean, I was there 2018, 2019 when Vietnam was booming. 2019 was the best year for tourism, and then we all know what happened between 2020 to 2022. So, but we survived that, and that was a time that we redefined Sofitel Saigon Plaza in terms of all the new concepts, the products that we brought in, the joint ventures that we did. How we redefined and positioned that hotel was amazing. The team and the owners and everyone that backed it up. It was a great time to be in Saigon. At the same time, I was volunteering with Eurosham where I became the chairman of the Tourism and Hospitality Committee. We did a lot of work for advocacy in terms of entry visas, to talking about medical tourism, visiting provinces like Mune and Bintuan, talking about sustainable tourism and environmental policies. Likewise, also I was given the opportunity to be a top chef on one of their seasons for Top Chef Vietnam, being a judge. That was a great exposure as well. And I guess the best part I love was actually being a mentor at RMIT Vietnam. Was sustainability was a big thing about our hotel, implementing plastic-free, cage-free eggs, everything about sustainable hospitality. And I was allowed to share these best practices with students at RMIT Vietnam, which was a great, I think for me, that was one of the pinnacles of my career, I would say. And then, of course, also fighting for diversity and inclusion in our hotels. When I would say that, with Irene, who runs the Women's Vietnam Pledge, we signed that actually, and we did a lot of her turn programs, were about coaching and developing the Vietnamese youth, women especially, to take up senior leadership roles within our hotels. So I guess that's that in a nutshell where I've come. I hope
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Mario, you started washing dishes in a hotel.
Yeah.
At what point did you become a supervisor or a leader of the team? And then at that point, what was it that what did you know had to change, or how did you become your first leader? When did you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually back in Australia. So let's say a couple of years after from a dishwasher, I started to become a team leader, which is kind of like a supervisor level. I guess the big shift there is knowing where you all really good mates and friends hanging out, going to the bars, nightclubs. You can still do that, but then you had to find that kind of like that fine line balance when you had to, I guess, lead and empower them. And there is a fine line balance of being your best friends and mates, and then also trying to instill accountability, responsibility, integrity, and of course, a lot about moving forward in terms of financial goals that we have to achieve and how we're going to break through that. So it is a sensitive approach where you have to balance that when you start to grow higher and higher in your positions in hospitality.
So today you talk about empowerment right now. What are some ways that you look to empower your team, or for somebody, maybe a brand new leader, maybe somebody you promoted from some type of captain in the dining room, now he moves his way up to dining room manager. What are some of the things you do to give them some empowerment?
I like to share the long-term growth plan, especially in hospitality. It's one of the careers where you start at the bottom. You could be a GM or a CEO or an MD within a good 15 to 20 years. But it's about going through the grind. And it's about, I always talk about the 3 Ps, being the patience. Hospitality, you need an immense amount of patience, be it dealing with your customers, your colleagues, your higher management, or 360. When we're talking about, when you work in a hotel, you deal with different departments, different likes, and different types of people. So that patience, you need to have a lot of emotional understanding and patience. The next is the perseverance. Perseverance to move forward, because in this industry, you're gonna have a lot of setbacks where you just want to say, I'm out of here. This is just too much. I cannot deal with, because we always say the customer's right. And in a hotel, it's a demanding role, and it could be 12 to 16 hours a day. So there's a lot of perseverance that you need to have. And the last one I always say is the passion. For this job, you have to have an immense amount of passion. When you have that passion and you love what you do in hospitality, the time goes quite fast, and you see you climbing your career ladder equally in that time. When we combine all these 3, when you get to, let's say, executive senior leadership levels, like number 2 or the general manager, you start to shift those 3 Ps into what we call finding the purpose for yourself, for the people that you have in your team, and not only that, for the community, for the property. What is the purpose value that we want to achieve out of this hotel for our people, for our guests, and for the community that we work in. How do we achieve that? And that goes into a whole different strategy, and how you implement that, be it in your hotel departments, in the daily operations of our work, and how the hotel grows with the people and the community, and creates that, as you rightfully mentioned, a legacy, a proper legacy, David. You know, a hotel, one of my greatest all-time favorite hotel movies is the Grand Hotel Budapest. When you watch that movie, you see the intricacies, the fantastic sights, sounds, touches about what a hotel was all about.
Okay.
You know, creating that heritage legacy for people to admire and follow on for years to come. I feel that sometimes we've lost that along the way, as we've had, you know, hotels change, and we have lifestyle, we have modern boutique, but we still have a few gems there.
Yeah.
I guess that will move into another topic that we talk about, AI. That will be the big game changer. But for me, now it's about purpose management, purpose life. You know,
I don't think AI can really disrupt hotel service too much. You know, you still need the people really to make that work. But we'll see. We don't know, man. Things are moving pretty fast, right?
Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, you were saying how we're just in the baby steps of AI, right?
Yeah.
Imagine when AI, the amount that we're all feeding this machine or whatever it is, once it develops emotional intelligence and we perfect robotics, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if you're an AI robot talking to me right now.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, I mean, if they can create that same, we talk about, yes, hospitality is all about creating the emotional connection with our guests. And that only is done right now effectively by human, one-to-one, face-to-face interactions, creating that luxury experience. But eventually, if AI and robotics develop to that level, it could be a massive game changer for every, not just the hospitality industry, but every industry.
Oh, everything will be disrupted for sure. When you are looking to motivate your team, okay, let's say that you have a department or maybe a specific manager that just it's not quite working out, what kind of obstacles do you see that you find in your leadership that you have with staff that trying to help them find their motivation?
Yeah, that comes down to definitely one-to-one coaching on a very deep and emotional level. Like, it depends on the level they're at. So now I deal mostly with my directors or my or department head levels, right? And it's about, you know, taking out a simple piece of paper and drawing where do you want to be 6, 12, 18 months from now. But what about you? I look at you and I start to have a conversation about, you know, an empathetic conversation, be it your personal life and your career life. How are these two going to intertwine and grow in the next 6 to 12, 18 months? What is the purpose that you see you want to achieve? And what do you want to achieve together with our hotel? Because, of course, we have financial goals to achieve. We have stakeholders to look after. We have our teams to look after. They also need development. How are you planning your succession planning? So, but at the same time, what are you finding fulfillment in that career? So it's definitely comes down to, you know, the classics of one-to-one coaching and building that trust factor, but also regular checkups, but not micromanagement, but a regular, you know, one-to-one follow-up, say, how's it going? What do you feel you're growing at? What do you feel there's weakness? Are you having trouble points? I mean, you know, in Southeast Asia, confrontation is kind of taboo, I would say. Be honest with you.
For sure.
Being in you've been here long enough, you know, Thailand and Vietnam, giving honest critical feedback or reprimand is a tough thing to do. But that's where I say you have to understand business is business, friendship is friendship, love is love. Yes, we're all about being empathetic leaders for sure, but there comes a point that not only for the person and the business, you have to find that sometimes maybe this is not the right place for you or the right path for you. Maybe you're in this position in this department. Would you like to try another department? But then saying that, if you can't find your happiness or you don't seem to, let's say, gel with the team or want to move forward, maybe it's time for you for all of us to move on and for you to look for something else that's better for you, that makes you happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a short amount of time we do have on this earth.
For
so
sure.
Find, yes, I understand, but there's always something that you can find that you have an interest in. And when you find that interest, of course you're going to get better at it, because you will apply 200% of your mind and your body and your passion to it. So those are some of the, and until today, we still have those kind of hard conversations. I have them regularly. I mean, sometimes they're not regularly, but I have to have those conversations because we need to. I used to play rugby league, and I think when you go to, like, you're from the US, when you look at NFL sports management and all that, right?
Yeah.
They're always drafting, benching, looking at who's going to be the best effective player to move this forward, right? It's all about getting that ball across the line, scoring the try. So how do we do that as a team effectively, but at the highest performance level that achieves key results?
Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay, Mario, you lead about 300 people here in this resort, and what do you look for in a staff to see why should you promote somebody? What do you look for something? So if I'm working for you and I'm the dishwasher here in this resort, what would I be striving to do that you would recognize that, or at least maybe not you personally, but one of your leaders now, in how can I get promotion? Like, what are you looking for?
Look, the first thing I always look for, David, is your attitude. Your attitude shines right through, because it shows me your character, your passion for this role, and that really spills out. You don't have to spell it out, but your attitude shows in the way you work in the daily operations, how you deal with guests, how you then can quickly shift to another area in the front office or the restaurants, how I see you throughout the hotel on a regular basis. For me, that is definitely the key one, is attitude. And then I guess it constantly seeing you through operation. I mean, the hotel industry is like 12, 16 hours a day, from breakfast all the way till night. And, we're constantly walking around, seeing them. And we can see the ones who generally go further to make a difference in their daily work. It could be right at the front line or through administration, coming up with projects, delivering. I always look for these key aspects, because there are some star performance, we say. And it doesn't matter if they've been here 10 years or 20 years. For me, I've promoted people who have only worked here for 6 to 8 months because they have delivered and shown consistently exceeding their targets or their job roles, like going above and beyond their duty roles, than somebody who's been here for 5 years, who has become complacent and adjusted. So for me, these things, I open the door and show that, look, we're going to take a risk, we're going to take a chance on you because you've consistently gone above and beyond in your role and your duty. That shows that you have a real passion and hunger to go further in this industry, because at the same time you're delivering more and more performance and great reputation to our guests. So that creates much more longevity for all stakeholders.
So I hear you talk about exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
All right, your attitude and exceeding expectations. What do you think is what's a way that someone can exceed expectations in your eyes? What do you, like, someone you go, man, this guy's doing more than I expect him to do?
I mean, for me, the one I hate is when someone just and let's say exceed, but the ones who don't say, this is not my job, I don't want to do that. My God, yes. I love this one. Every time I say, but it's his job, it's his role.
Yeah.
As soon as I hear that, I've already shut down wanting to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing in hospitality, that you are a multitasking person. In this industry, we do everything. Because I'm a person who grew up through all the different departments, the more you absorb, like a sponge, every area of a hotel, the more of an asset you become to this hotel. But getting back to the question, saying exceeding expectations. Look, in our industry, we're here for our guests. The whole hotel exists because of the guests and the connection, that emotional connection, that luxury touch point, that money cannot buy experience that we serve. So for us, every day is about how do we exceed their stay today. I mean, it could be as simple as making an amazing coffee, but that coffee What did the barista do? Did he grind the beans properly? Did he calibrate the grinder properly in the
Yeah.
morning? Did he ensure the flow? Did he check the backwash? Did he ensure that the espresso shot was just the right amount that made that great cup of coffee? Because that's where it starts off with a great breakfast, with a great selection, with a smile in the morning. How do you make them feel wow, that wow factor right from that breakfast, from the time they wake up? Or even going back further, when they go to bed at night, are we using the right linen? Have we used the right fabric softener? Have we purchased the right linen count? All the soft touches, be it from the power showers to the luxury amenities, to the fittings and the color tones in our rooms. How do we create that warmth, that light, the aesthetics? All of these touch points is what creates your guest journey. And us as human beings, how do we share our energy that we are genuinely there to give you a fabulous day, that a memorable experience that the money cannot buy? That is about exceeding guest expectations.
And so so the details.
Yes.
So I'm your staff. I'm working here. I'm trying to get promoted. I want your job someday. I need to pay attention to the details. Now, let's say that you sat down with me, and I'm a dining room manager, and my dream is to have your job someday. And you tell me, hey, this is what I feel is a plan. How does that plan look? And what would you tell me that I should probably start studying? Like, what are the things that, that you would suggest to me? Like, hey, you need to start looking into reading this author or something of that nature.
The best one would be Kenneth Blanchard, The 1 Minute Manager. The 1 Minute Manager is a brilliant book for any hotelier starting out. I highly recommend you find that book, read through it back and forth.
Yeah, it's an easy book to read, and it's really good.
Absolutely. And the second one would be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
These are the two books that I would say that will transform your life. You apply any of those habits, you'll progress in no amount of time to senior management level. But the other thing is get out there. Go and dine at different restaurants. Go and even visit some other hotels. Some hotels will allow, like, if within your network, when you build a network or you're out there building a network, go and visit hotels at different times, be it morning, afternoon, or evening, and just walk the halls, walk through the property, look for the lights, look for the sounds, the music, the cleanliness, the color tones, the aesthetics of the building. Then sit down and just order a coffee and watch how the team work the room. How do they interact with you? And visit different establishments, and depends on where do you want to move into. Do you want to go into lifestyle? Do you want to go into luxury, or do you want to go into heritage? And of course, there's budget hotels. It's where do you see you want to grow your career in? Visit the products that revolve around that industry. Because the more you absorb from your better competitors, you can extract pieces of that to implement in your property and tweak it to be even better. That's where you'll find your niche with your product.
Yeah, good. That's great. So if you could look in the crystal ball right now, or your brain's a crystal ball, and what do you see hotel leadership maybe 5-10 years from now? How do you see that? How is it going to evolve, you think?
Wait, we were talking about AI before.
Yeah.
There's two ways. Okay, let's talk first without AI. We are entering, or we've already entered, a completely different industry in terms of employing this new generation Z. That, for me, that is the biggest shift for any senior general manager now, because we came up through a different industry where we're very much about, I have to say, very, standard hierarchy rules, protocol. You have to follow this way sometimes, or you have to go through these areas to learn what it is. We are entering an era where we're employing a generation who is needs instant gratification. They've grown up with so much social media, which gives them gratification within 10 seconds. How do we make our industry, let's say, likable, heartable? You know, how do we interact with them on that level that gives them that that instant gratification that TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram would give them in their daily life? E-commerce, especially in Vietnam, is exploding.
Yeah.
It is so easy for any young entrepreneur or young student from 18 to 22 to go and do a business online. Why would they want to come in here and, let's say, wash dishes, change beds, serve plates and clear?
Sure.
You know, how are you going to instill any kind of purpose and make them see the longevity in this career? So that's where what we say is it's a lot of employee branding, not brainwashing, but I guess showing them why we are doing this industry. And seeing how far you'll grow in their career is a lot of, I guess, what we say, one-to-one coaching, but also now is using trainings with gamification. So when I say is that most of them all have a smartphone. So let's say you're working in restaurants or you're working in front office. How do we create little gamification tasks or games which actually, okay, you got to interact with the guests, and this is a subject that you had to achieve. Did you achieve? So you get a star, you get a prize.
All right.
So how do we? That's the link that we have to create. Is
Correct.
Creating apps and gamification apps that apply in their daily departments or whichever position they're working in, which keeps that instant social gratification, and all their peers also can like and vote for them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, I mean, there are companies who are doing it
I'm
now.
sure.
But that's, I think, the next evolution.
Yeah, for sure.
Is how do we?
It's one of the things that we had to do is try to gamify using the CRM system. You know, it's like you have to get people to, you know, you either inspire them or you require them, and you know, obviously the inspire side works a lot longer.
Sorry, David.
Go ahead.
But also to add to that, flexibility now. I mean, they want to do 3 days. I want to do this, but the other 2 days I want to go do something else.
Sure.
And for them, they don't like we when we go. Okay, this is my career. I'm gonna be here. You know, 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. I'm committed. That word committed. They feel that they don't need to be tied down or committed to one job or one role for 5 days, 10 years in a row.
That's right.
And changing that mindset is definitely it's going to be hard, but there are different steps that we can take along the way to make that happen.
For sure. Okay, as we wrap up things here, I want to ask you something. You have 2 kids, all right? In my channel, really, I want to unlock potential in people and find ways to unlock that. As you think in the future when your kids grow up, like what are some potentials you want to unlock in your own kids?
Just be good people first.
Well,
I mean, be good. I got 2 boys, you know, I love it. And like, you know, I guess like my wife always says, you know, look, find the kindness in everything that you do. Find your purpose for sure. These are the 2 things. If they can find that, I'm sure they'll go very far. Kindness and purpose. But as a father who'd love them to grow, I mean, look, with the world that is evolving now, I think they need to. I don't even think school is necessary.
Hey, now listen. You need to go to school still, okay? Don't drop out of school. At least get to where you can. But I hear you.
With the evolution of like how we integrate AI now into our industry, I think learning coding, spending time about learning coding, and how AI and how can you mix AI, your purpose value, purpose social value, and kindness. These 3 things, if they could develop these 3 skills, I think they'll have a great life.
That's good. That's good. You know, I joke. And
play golf.
And play and be a good golfer. I kind of joke about it, but I think, you know, I always tell my wife, say, we got to teach my son how to fight robots someday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
We'll go back to John.
It's like
Connor.
And and I start thinking to myself, man, we got to be able to design something that you can, hit them with electric shock, and these robots won't be able to get you.
Yeah.
But that's great. That's great stuff. So, Mario, I really appreciate you taking your time and letting me come here to do it while we're in Danang for some other work, and it was great chatting with you. And I really can't wait to bring my family back here to this resort and enjoy it. The spa area is absolutely incredible. So, thanks again, Mario. I appreciate it, brother.
Many thanks, David.
You
really
bet, man.
Great
Thank
to see you again.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for joining us today on Unlock Potential. I will link a couple of the things that Mario talked about, the Ken Blanchard book, the Stephen Covey book, and Blinkist.
Yeah.
So you can find some links for that. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you watched it all the way to the end and you're not my mom or Mario's family, thanks again. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you next time.